Welcome back. So now that we got past the introduction, we're going to jump in. And it starts off, of course, with Moshe Rabbeinu, with Moses. And it starts off the lineage of the great righteous people, as well as a few pieces of advice on how to improve ourselves. So it starts off like this. Moses received the Torah from God on Mount Sinai, and then he gave it over. He taught it to Yehoshua, to Joshua. Then Joshua gave it over to the elders, and the elders gave it over to the prophets, and the prophets gave it over to the men of the great assembly. This was like the court, one of the greatest courts in the history of the Jewish religion. And these men, who clearly were only a few steps away from the actual giving of the Bible, the Torah, so they were very, very wise, very, very sophisticated, complicated men, and they gave the following pieces of advice. They said simply three things. Be very clear in your judgment. When you give over a decision on something, don't make it so that, I think he meant that, did he mean this? Be very, very clear. Number two, bring up many disciples, have a lot of students. And number three is make a fence for the Torah, for the Bible. Make rules so that you don't make a mistake. Don't make it so that you go, oops, I did something I wasn't supposed to do, but make rules that are even more strict. Let's say you're not supposed to touch the fire. So you don't want to let your child walk up to the fire. You want to make sure your child knows that they can't even go to that part of the kitchen. It would be an example of making a fence. Now, what's interesting about this is that you would think that somebody that's so busy with making decisions in judgment that they wouldn't have the time to make students, because that would be somebody else's job. My job is this, I need to focus on it, and the next person, that job falls to them. But we see over here that the abilities of a person is kind of like the way they say about a brain. A brain is an incredible muscle, it expands. You can't say, my brain is full, I can't learn more. The more you learn, the brighter you become, the sharper you become, the more you can learn. And it's the same thing. A person can't say, oh, I am so busy in judgment and I have such complicated things that I'm dealing with and I'm not going to be available to train people. But just the opposite. Do both. And again, with the three things being, be very clear in your judgment, raise students, and additionally, make limitations that are before you get to the point that you weren't supposed to do, but rather make sure you don't even get close to it. So they are all interrelated. And the way I would figure it is that a person who is very careful in judgment is also the same kind of person that's going to be very careful when he's raising disciples, students, that he doesn't mince his words or make mistakes or allow 90s or 85s on tests, but he has to make sure that they don't even get close to a mistake, because they're going to be the next generation. We want to make sure they get it right. Hope you guys found this enjoyable. And tomorrow we're going to move forward with Shimon HaTzadik, Shimon the righteous, and we're going to find out what his advice is. Hope you're enjoying. Have a great day.